We have big time transfer news. As all this show is brought to you by HelloFresh. But let's get started here. We're talking a ton of Arizona Wildcats basketball here. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, we've got a lot to get to this show, but first, we are going to talk about Arizona basketball and what it needs to do for the coming year. Now, we talked about it a ton that, it was going to be a difficult decision for Tommy Lloyd, I think, let's be honest here. It was going to be a difficult decision for him, I think, what to do with Kerr Kriisa, because he obviously really likes Kerr Kriisa. And you know what? There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Kerr Kriisa did some very good things here. But I do think that it's fair to say at this point in the equation that you kind of know what you got with Kerr Kriisa. You know what? He'll have some nice games, but he's generally not going to get you over the top. And in big moments, he generally isn't there. Granted, you could say he's injured, but you know what? Your availability is your best positive right there. Okay, now let's get started here on some of the things that Arizona needs. You needed, with Kerr Kriisa out the door, you needed to be able to get better in the backcourt. And by getting better in the backcourt, you have an option right there now in Ryan Nembhard. Now, Ryan Nembhard, kid out of Creighton. A lot of people might know Andrew Nembhard's brother right there. He is a player that Arizona has targeted, and I would expect to land. Now, what could he bring to the equation right here? He can bring a lot to the equation right here. First thing you look at with Nembhard is he can create his own shot. And it's not a fluky kind of creating his own shot. He can create his own shot, and he can do that. In a variety of different ways. You can look at him throughout the year, dropped 30 points in the second round of the NCAA tournament. Guy that I think you put him in at Arizona in that backcourt next to Kylan Boswell. And yes, I know a lot of people say, well, it's a little bit undersized. But at the end of the day, though, both these guys are ballers. Both these guys, especially Nembhard, is proven on the highest level right there. You love to get a guy like that, and you would embrace getting a guy like that. Now, when it comes to some of the other, when it comes to what he would provide in the backcourt, first, Arizona needs some dogs. Arizona needs a few guys who can get to the hoop, get to the basket, get out and have people get out of the way and score. And that's what Ryan Nembhard can bring to you, and he can bring to you in spades. Now, when it comes to some of the other things that he can do for you, you might say, I think he can provide again. He's not going to be Reggie Geary back there defensively. Not saying that, but he's also a player, though, that can lock some guys up, can get involved right there, can do some really, really good things for you. Now, so you got that right there. Then you've got a guy. So you put him next to Kylan Boswell right there, and I think you feel pretty good about where things can be. If you're a Wildcat fan. And as a matter of fact, I think outside of USC, you have one of the best backcourts in the country. I'm going to say it. Heck, I'm going to say it. In the country, you have one of the best backcourts right there. That's just kind of the way that it is, to quote Walter Cronkite. But so you have both those guys. Now, need to be honest, we need to be careful here. Ryan Nembhard has not committed to the University of Arizona. But again, I think it would be a little bit of an upset if he did not commit to Arizona. So take that one for what it's worth. So if you got that backcourt right there, then you start looking around a little bit. Then you start saying, all right, what's that next step that Arizona can make? All right, so you got the big man. You got Oumar Ballo up front right there. And with Oumar Ballo, he's a guy who can finish around the hoop. We already know that. I'm curious. I think he can take a next step. Some people don't think he can take a next step. I disagree with them. I think that Oumar Ballo can make a next step in his progression as an Arizona big man. And if you can get that to be something like 17-8, then I think that's a very, very good number, I think, for everybody involved right there. Now, with when it comes to some of the other guys right there, Azuolas Tubelis. I would expect Azuolas Tubelis to move on. Now, could be totally wrong on that, but I will say this, that the chance isn't done that he could come back. But again, it would be a bit of a surprise. I've made the case many times for why Azuolas Tubelis should come back. First, you watch him and you know that he's always going to be somewhat limited in certain areas. He's not going to be the toughest guy in the world. He's not going to be the toughest guy in the world. He's also not going to be a guy that's going to finish around the basket when the games get tough. That's just not really what his role is right there. And you know what? That's okay. There's nothing necessarily wrong with any of that. But you also need to know, too, that you need to be able to get a couple more dogs in there. And Ryan Nembhard would be that. I think adding Kylan Boswell into the starting lineup would do that as well. But another guy that his name has come up again is Olivier Nkamhoua from the University of Tennessee. All right, look at his numbers: 10 points, 5 boards, block, but you also need to understand a couple things too. In Rick Barnes' system, you're not exactly scoring a ton of points. I think Nkamhoua would be something more like 14-7 at the University of Arizona, something in that vein right there. That's what I think you're looking at. But again, you got to, that's just me kind of extrapolating things out right there. Now, where could Arizona be with him in the lineup as opposed to Tubelis? Well, again, he's not as talented an offensive performer as Zoo is, but he's also a player who I think provides a little bit more toughness. Certainly provides more of a defensive mentality as well. That is a very good thing right there, because we've seen, let's be honest here, we've seen in the NCAA tournament that Arizona does have a little bit of, how do I put this? Sometimes you just need to be a little bit tougher out there. And Arizona has not had that in spades. They need to be able to get back to that, and I think that's what they can do with an Olivier Nkamhoua. Again, brings a different skill set, maybe not a better skill set, but a different skill set. Then at that small forward position, it gets fascinating because you got Pelle Larsson. Now, again, take everything that I'm going to say about Pelle Larsson with a grain of salt, mainly because I was wrong on Pelle. I thought Pelle wasn't very good. Pelle is good. Pelle is not only good, Pelle is very good. So, again, it's one of those things. Take what I say right here with the biggest grain of salt, or the smallest grain of salt. Whatever it is, grain of salt right there. So that's kind of where it is with Pelle Larsson. But I do believe, though, that Pelle is a guy who you could easily make the case is kind of a he's probably better off the bench. He's probably a better player who, he just, some guys are just wired like that. I've never really seen it before, but I guess some guys are just kind of wired like that. So you got to keep that in mind right there. Now, when it comes to some of these other players, I think that I think Pella basically. I think he's a very, very good defender. I think he gets starter minutes. I just don't know that I want him starting. I'll put it to you like that. I just don't know that I want him starting. But again, he's a very, very good player. You look at him, and he's probably a guy that fit in there probably 28 minutes a game, but I got to get another athlete in there. I got to get another dude in there who can run up and down the court, who can finish around the rim, and who can defend. That's what I need, right? That's what I need. So we're going to find out exactly where that is right there. When it comes to that player, maybe that player's in the portal. Maybe that player isn't. But again, if Pella is going to be your starter, that is also not the worst thing in the world because, again, as we've talked about, Pella Larson can play. Again, I was a dummy and wrote him off, but he could be. I just don't think that he's going to be an all-conference type guy. But overall, I think he's going to be a pretty darn good player. Or I think he's turned out to be a pretty good player. You just got to work on some of those limitations right there. Now, where else could some of that help come from? The portal and overseas. You got multiple guys, I think, overseas that are probably going to come into the University of Arizona. I don't have any specifics, but, that's kind of where it's at. I think that every year with Arizona, you're going to have a couple guys who are coming in from internationally. We'll find out exactly where they all are in the grand scheme of things. But that's kind of how this roster is shaping up a little bit right here. Now, a couple of the other guys then, Philly B. I have no clue what to expect from Philly B, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a good thing. I just have no clue what to expect. People ask me all the time, what do you expect out of Philly B? I don't know. And you know what? My dog's guess is as good as mine on Philly B. And again, that is not a diss towards Philly B. Philly B can, from all accounts, Philly B is a very hard worker, and he's going to get the most out of his abilities. So, certainly not writing Philly B off in any way, shape, or form. I just don't know what to expect. Then Henry Vasar, big man. So Henry is another player that I think, unlike Philly B, I have an idea of what I need out of Henry Vasar. I believe that Henry Vasar can be a shot blocker. I believe that Henry Vasar can be a guy who you look up and he's averaging 13.5 and 2 blocks. Now, maybe that's this coming year. Maybe that's the year after. But Henry has that kind of potential right there. I think that, Arizona fans, you've just got to kind of, just wait your time, wait out Henry, because I think once Henry is ready to rock and roll, he's going to make us all proud. He's already making us proud right now. And then my guy, Dylan Anderson. So Dylan, there have been a lot of rumors about, is Dylan Anderson going to be back? Is Dylan Anderson going to do this? Is Dylan Anderson going to do that? I have heard nothing to indicate that Dylan Anderson would not be back. Now, I would say that with Big Dylan, he's big. He's big. And he can move fairly well. I think there's this idea that he's not a very good athlete. That's wrong. Dylan Anderson is a fine athlete out there. He just needs to take a little bit of time. He just needs to take a little bit of time out there. And I think if he takes a little bit, then he can seize through it. I think that he can be a very, very good player for the University of Arizona. So again, you got a lot of moving pieces in here. You got to, it's one of those things, you got to keep up with the Joneses right here. But one thing you don't have to worry about keeping up with the Joneses is FanDuel. All right, FanDuel.com/LockedOnCollege. All right. Now, might say to yourself, I want to bet on the University of Arizona. I want to bet against the University of Arizona in whatever sport. FanDuel is there. They got you covered right there. The NBA playoffs are right around the corner. Why not hop on FanDuel as well? Right there. FanDuel Sportsbook, FanDuel.com. Again, in-game bets, out-of-game bets, you name the bet, they've got the bet right there. So again, check it out, FanDuel Sportsbook. Again, reason they've been around, the reason they're going to continue to be around. Check them out. All right, we'll be right back with you. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now we talked a bunch of Arizona basketball, a couple names in the transfer portal, but we got to keep this one going right here. We've got now, what do you look for? Again, you're looking for guys who are athletic. You're looking for guys that got a little bit of a grind to them, a little bit of a grudge towards them right there, but in a good way, a good positive grudge. And if you can get that, then I think you feel pretty darn good about where you are at the if you're U of A. Again, this was going to be a big offseason for Tommy Lloyd. This was always going to be a big offseason for Tommy Lloyd. Because he had to be able to show, I think, that he could make some of the tough decisions. Again, it's no disrespect to Kerr Kriisa. Kerr did some very good things here, but I think you found out with Kerr that Arizona was a little bit limited right there. And not only was Arizona a little bit limited, they were a lot of guys that just didn't embrace the moment. You got to find those guys that embrace the moment. Ryan Nembhard would be the perfect example of somebody that embraces that moment. And again, that just kind of trickles down the entire team. Again, I would love to have Azuolas Tubelis back. But to me, Arizona's in kind of a can't-lose situation here because one of Zoo's drawbacks, and again, Zoo is a great player. I'd wish him back, but he's also not the toughest dude in the world. He's not a guy that really, I think, embraces those big moments. I'd like to have a team where you've got guys that do embrace those type of big moments. And I think in Arizona, you should be able to get those guys that embrace those big moments. With Zoo, again, there's a lot to like about him. But, there are a few drawbacks as well. But I think Tommy Lloyd gets it in that, yes, he would love to have Tubelis back. But I also think that he gets it, too, on what he needs to have going forward from the U of A. And if he gets that going forward from the U of A, then I think that Arizona is going to be in some very good shape right there. Now, when it comes to this squad, though, we are going to talk then about possible under the how the conference is staking up right now. Come back with us. You are listening to Locked On Wildcats. Thanks for keeping it locked on, Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now, the conference could be really, really good next year. You got USC already. And you got Boogie Ellis coming back. You've got not only do you got Boogie Ellis coming back, you've got Isaiah Collier coming in. Isaiah Collier, one of the handful of best players in the country. Many lists have him as the best player in the country at that guard spot. Then you got Big Vince up front. You got Trey White. There's been rumors that Bronny James could end up there as well. They should be very, very good. UCLA could turn out to stink. And you know what? I would not shed a tear for that right there if UCLA turned out to stink. But you look at it, Oregon is going to be really talented, but who knows now at this stage in the game if Oregon is going to be that, or if Oregon is going to be that team. You just got to take kind of a wait and see approach. ASU's interesting. You get back Frankie Collins, you get back Big Warren Washington. I think you got some pieces there, but the problem though is that they're just losing guys left and right. You lost the one Cambridge. Now you lost the you lost Neal, you lost Horn. So and these guys are entering the portal one day after and then coming back. But that's the days of the NIL right here. So again, that's kind of where we're at in the grand scheme of things. But Arizona basketball takes a back seat to nobody, and they should take a back seat to nobody. So again, we got high expectations here for the U of A, as I think we all should. So we're going to take a quick break right here. We'll be back with you tomorrow. As always, we're going to keep you totally updated, though, on Arizona basketball. But we're also going to move into a little bit of Arizona football as well. Spring scrimmage was here. There's a lot of dudes that are to like on the University of Arizona and what they can bring. Again, Arizona's going bowling. I'm going to keep saying it, and I'm going to keep saying it. But you all have a great rest of your Monday. I am your host, Mike Luke. We will be back with you tomorrow. Keep it locked on Wildcats.